What black market did kids at your school run? A kid in my school used to sell stupid amounts of prawn tapes for $10. We found out later that his dad had paid for some prawn channels, and I guess he never noticed his son had them open in his room. He would buy empty tapes and just hit record until the tapes were full. I know I bought at least 10 of them. This was in the 90s. That guy was making a garbage ton of money. He would bring a backpack full of tapes almost every day and leave school with it empty. Easily he was making $200 a day when he emptied his bag. Edit, thanks guys. Now every time someone mentions emptying a bag in any situation, I'll remember all your masturbation jokes. They will come in handy for sure. I was in elementary school when pogs were big. Everyone had cool slammers and stuff, but I didn't have money for good ones. My dad made one out of 1/2 mild steel for me and used an engraving pen to make a simple pattern. Everyone was asking me where I got him from. I didn't wanna lose my unfair edge, but I also knew I could make money. My dad had a big sheet of this 1/2 steel. I told him I was the only one who could get him. I sold him for $15 a pop. My dad kept 10, I got 5. And that's when I learned what overhead was. Edit, first silver. Neato, thanks. I went to a private high school with a strict dress code, ties, belt, etc. So I bought a bunch of ties and belts from a thrift store and ran a lucrative rental business out of my locker. Locker accessories such as carpets and magnets. Used to crush up warheads and mix them with sugar. Sold them by the straw with the ends melted. 0.50 a piece. I don't know if this counts, but me and my brother would take money to beat all the challenges in GoldenEye 007 for N64, so people got all the cheats. The invincibility challenge was the toughest. I used to sell Coke, the drink, because they didn't allow fizzy drinks to be brought in. I used to deal in whiteboard markers for teachers in high school. One teacher had a tendency to hoard them, leaving none for other teachers. I would take markers from him and provide them to other teachers in need. While there was no formal payment, I was given a little bit more leniency at times, e.g. requests to leave the classroom for a moment, etc. Once the marker would start squealing on the whiteboard because it was almost empty, I'd get teachers giving me a nod as if to say, "You got the goods." I'd then supply them with the marker color of the choosing, usually black. It was actually a lot of fun, and I never heard teachers talk about my systems or chastise me for taking markers. I have family in NY and would go visit a couple times a year back in high school. Every once in a while we'd visit Chinatown in NYC and I'd end up buying $100's worth of fake watches, Rolex, Tag, Gucci, etc., return to school and sell them for double than what I paid for them. The location of Forest Prawn. At my school they took all sweets out of the vending machines and replaced them with healthy snacks. In the local town there was a sweet shop where you could buy a kilo of mixed sweets for £5, so every week I would go there and buy 1 pound of small paper bags and spend the Sunday night before school repackaging them all ready for the week ahead. Come Monday I would go into school and load my bag up every day selling the bags for 50p. My school used the metallic ends of pencils as a currency. Bronze was rarest, so it was the most expensive. Green was most common, so it was the least. We traded for erasers or pencil cases or a spot up in the 4-square line. Eventually got banned, but we still operated with people acting as banks to keep the currency hidden and to keep transactions hidden. Cuban sandwiches straight out a duffel bag before school. They were bomb, cheap and way better than the lunch in the cafeteria. The only guy in the school whose family had proper TV channels used to tape wrestling events and rent them out. Apple laptops in middle school, some had iTunes, some didn't, and the kids wanted it, so I apparently was the only one who knew how to transfer the installer with my USB. I put it on everyone's laptop for gifts, favors, etc. in return. Got caught by the sub that day. I told her it was my flash drive, I could do what I wanted with it. And that's how I got my second detention of my life. Edit, gifts were typical middle schooler garbage, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, fruit snacks, best food trades during lunch, gain in popularity and hang out with the cool people. Obviously they were taking advantage of me, but I didn't mind. In high school, this guy sold socks in the hallways. Silly bands. I remember a kid made like $50 one day. These little game coupons that our teacher gave out for winning class quiz games. Right when people were starting to get scanners printers in their own homes, some kid made copies of his coupons and sold or traded them to other students. Edit, since I have some people asking what the coupons could be traded for, it was usually a piece of candy or a pencil with a fun print or something similar. I think the kids ended up getting caught like 2 weeks into the scheme. Edit 2. A lot of people are comparing this to Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which I've heard of but never read before. I think kids are just clever and do this kind of thing on their own because a lot of people in the replies had similar things happen in their own schools as well. I don't know if this is where the kid got his idea or not, but this may have been before those books came out. When I was in the 6th grade, a teacher sold candy in between classes at marked up rates. A student decided to undercut her. That put an end to all candy sales. Nintendo games, some kids sold them off for like 10 or 15 bucks a pop. I don't know where he got them from, but he said he just told his dad what he wanted and his dad would get it for him. He'd asked for the same ones over and over and it didn't matter, he'd end up with 5 copies and he'd just sell 4 of them. Either the kid was the most spoiled brat in history, or his dad was straight up stealing him anyhow. Anyways, I could never get any. I had a Sega, but I remember that kid making a killing in grade 3. Updates and answers. It was NES. Yes, please tell me how to download a car. MP3s and CDRs were just becoming available. A guy the first knew made a killing on mixed CDs. Every week he circulated forms to fill out, where you selected the songs you wanted on the CD. The newest hits were on the top, and changed weekly. The rest of his library filled the rest of the form, and there was a space for requests. He'd deliver your disc the following week. He seriously made bank for a couple years until everybody started getting their own songs from LimeWire or whatever. I don't know what he's doing now, 20 years later, but I don't doubt he's successful. Edit. Just as a bit of an aside, since a few responses have mentioned LimeWire, when this guy started doing it in HS, the only real avenues for music sharing were Usenet groups and IRC. I had the principal's secretary's handwriting down and used to sell hall passes for $1 each. Made a killing. Edit. I don't really know how much I made, but it was in the realm of $5 a day. Sometimes I went dry because you needed the actual pass paper, but I finally figured out how to get into the supply closet, slide the student id by the latch bolt. I only took a few pads at a time so they wouldn't get suspicious. Edit 2. I could also forge my mother's signature. Did it so well that when I brought in a note from her that she scribbled on the dash, they called her to confirm. It's not anything bad, but we had a black market for food and another for birth control pills. Apart from the 20 minutes before the morning bell rang where everyone crowded around the front of the school being an open-air drug market, there were always dice tournaments. The rules were 2 people put down X amount of money on a game, then both people rolled 2 dice at the same time. Whoever got 7 or 11 first won the money. The winners of the first rounds would play each other for the amount of money they won in previous games. This went on until the bell rang, or it was broken up by teachers, school administrators. Things often continued in the afternoon after school let out. So many people got detention and suspended for repeat gambling. Looking back, it was hilariously stupid how much money was won and lost on a game of pure luck, and the sheer number of people who got in trouble for it. Yes, I was one of them. Slap bracelets. Small southern town with just a Walmart and 1 or 2 small clothing stores that carried them. Anyone who went out of town to do clothes shopping or because their parents worked there would come back with bracelets we couldn't get here, so a little black market popped up. 2 years ago I was a sophomore in high school, and freshmen weren't allowed to go off campus but everyone else was. So I'd take orders, go to the local fast food shops, and get the goods. I'd up the price by about $2 and ended up making about $200 a month. Edit. $200 a month folks, not per year. I would buy 6 packs of soda for $1.79 and resell the 6 sodas for a total of $3. This girl Danielle convinced my best friend and I, along with some other people, that she could forever change the taste of saliva in our mouth. So that our saliva would taste like watermelon, cotton candy, bubble gum, etc. forever. She made us wait a couple days so we could really think about what flavor we wanted in our mouth forever. For example, she would tell us, "Are you sure you always want everything you eat to have a hint of watermelon?" Anyways, after a couple days and we picked a flavor, she charged us money. I can't remember how much, but it was probably 50 cents or something. She made us chew on all this crazy stuff like paper clips, erasers, and other things. Obviously our saliva never changed flavor and she stopped this. But I worked at Starbucks a couple years ago in my hometown and she came in and didn't even recognize me, and all I could think about was how that girl had me chewing on paper clips. Pokemon cards we would hide under playground equipment and trade them because the teachers would take them if they saw them. So we always set up deals in class and created a whole Pokemon card trading network. Banana chips were 25 in the vending machine in middle school. I always went to school early, so I always ended up buying all of them and selling them for 50 a bag. I know people at my school sold weed and pills and got busted. Like 20 people got expelled.